and welcome back to another episode of
To Be Told.
And we're your hosts, Cindi
and Julia. And on today's episode, we'll be revisiting our personal experience from the first semester of dental hygiene school. But before we do that, here are some questions to ask yourself. Have you ever felt defeated?
Ever felt like you're not good enough? If you said yes, then today's topic is just for you.
These are just some of the emotions one may feel when dealing with a stressful situation. I know, traumatizing to remind you of the past couple of months, but more specifically, we want to focus on our experience with the infamous Imposter Syndrome.
We all know how competitive the dental hygiene program is. I mean, we're living through it. Therefore, going into the program, we all want to do our best and be the best versions of ourselves. At this point in our curriculum, most of us have realized we can't always achieve this.
For those who don't know what the imposter syndrome is, it's typically described as a feeling of anxiety, self-doubt, and the inability to accept positive feedback, along with the fear of failure and guilt about the success that undermine their ability to function at the highest level. This simply throws us down the deep end of continuous doubt of our ability, confidence, and growth. Cindi, have you ever felt like this?
Yeah, let's go back to last year. Last semester was an eye-opener for everyone, to say the very least. Entering the program, we went through all the emotions. Excited, happy, scared, anxious, doubtful. You name it. We all live different lives outside of school. Some of us have kids, bills, and even family problems. All of this still goes on even with hygiene school happening. I know a lot of us during the first week of school have thought to ourselves, how can I manage this? Is this program for me? Will I be good enough?
When we started hygiene school, I knew I had to stay on top of everything, even if that meant planning every minute of every day. I thought that if I didn't have some sort of routine going on, it'll snowball into something worse. Some days I would even have to rely on my Google Calendar to see what I was doing the next day because I couldn't even wrap my head around everything that we were juggling. Some weeks we would even have homework, quizzes, tests, and skill assessments. Oh, and you can't forget about team up every month. Our heads are constantly running while in hygiene school.
Hey, I read this article the other day from the Journal of Taiwan University Medical Sciences, and it stated that dental students are expected to face stressful scenarios that they have not experienced before during their academic careers. This might lead to feelings of distress and imposterism. Julia, does this remind you of anything?
Yes, 2 words, sim lab. I remember being so stressed every time we were scheduled to go to sim lab for 3 reasons. 1, how fast-paced our schedule was. 2, how hard it was to adjust our hands. And 3, how scary skill assessments were made to be seen, especially from our bigs.
Think you got the mirror down? Great. Now let's try exploring. That will humble you real quick.
And you can't forget about that dang clipboard.
Oh, trust me, I know. The feeling of imposter syndrome reminds me of this book we read.
Oh, you must be talking about Teeth by Mary Otto. I remember in the first few chapters, the author introduces the main character, Ajay, and her focus on the imperfections during her Miss Maryland USA pageant participation. She felt the pressure to be perfect in every regard, with perfect hair, perfect skin, perfect body. This just reminds me of some of the expectations we have of ourselves.
We as students have felt like we have to be perfect at everything we do to avoid the feeling of failure. But is this the right mindset to have?
Of course not. The imposter syndrome will not be the death of us. According to the dental hygiene scholarly identity and the roadblocks to achieving it, Walsh, the author, states that to counteract the potential for imposter syndrome, each of us must realistically assess our traits and celebrate our individual strengths and successes while forgiving our imperfections and mistakes. I know that we have all had days where we felt like a failure, but that isn't true. This feeling will try to haunt you even after graduation. When this happens, you must learn how to self-reflect. As a wise woman at LSU Dental says,
we must learn how to adjust, adapt, and accommodate in everyday situations.
At the end of the day, there is success to the other side of the struggle. We must go through the rain to get to the rainbow. Remember that asking for help is okay and it doesn't make you less than. Let this episode remind you of how far you have come. Be proud of all your accomplishments and yes, even the failures you have gone through. You learn from each experience.
To conclude, we all go through the troubles of imposter syndrome. Emotions are a part of the roller coaster of discovering yourself, on top of many other things. Be proud of who you are and remember to always keep pushing forward.
Every day is a new day, and as mentioned by our great professors here, allow yourself some grace.
And remember, y'all, Is it a problem or is it an inconvenience? For any given situation, look at it in this perspective. A lump in your oatmeal, inconvenience. A lump in your breast, problem.
And that wraps up today's episode of Tooth Be Told with your hosts,
Cindi
and Julia. Remember to share this podcast, like, and subscribe for more episodes of Tooth Be Told. See y'all next time.